Hello, you've turned into radio station 20.2. 20.2, just kidding. This is Mr. Case, and this is chapter 20.2. European nations settle in North America. England, France, Netherlands are going to claim lands. They're going to ignore the Treaty of Tordesillas, which was between Spain and Portugal. Let me say that again. England, France, the Netherlands, which are the Dutch, are going to claim lands in North America. They're going to ignore the Treaty of Tordesillas, which was between Spain and Portugal. Their desire is to find a Northwest Passage. How did they know that existed? Well, they didn't. But they did know, courtesy of Magellan's voyage around the southern tip of South America, that it was possible to get to Asia by the Pacific. Wouldn't it be cool if they could find a Northwest Passage around the North American land without having to go all the way down to the southern tip of South America? So that's the desire, to find a Northwest Passage. Did it exist? Well, they're going to try. Verrazzano, an Italian, is going to discover New York Harbor. He sails up and down the east coast or the Atlantic coast of North America, but he explores what is present-day New York Harbor. A Frenchman by the name of Jacques Cartier is going to discover the Gulf of the St. Lawrence River. Now, the St. Lawrence goes from the Atlantic all the way to Lake Ontario. So his claim to fame is that area right there, the Gulf of the St. Lawrence River. Another one, Champlain, Champlain. Champlain goes farther down the St. Lawrence and claims the area of Quebec, Quebec. Quebec. So we have New France established. What an original name. Well, New France is the French colonial empire in North America. Its headquarters was Quebec. Again, Quebec. Other French explorers, Marquette and Joliet. Father Marquette was a priest. With his friend Joliet, they are exploring the upper Mississippi River, the Great Lakes and the upper Mississippi River. Another French explorer by the name of La Salle, capital L-A, capital S-A-L-L-E, is going to paddle his way from the lower Mississippi all the way up into the Louisiana Territory. So he starts from the south, from the Gulf of Mexico, and paddles his way up against the current of the Mississippi all the way up into the Louisiana Territory. And France has land claims all the way from Quebec all the way down the Mississippi River Valley to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the French were all about raw materials. The French didn't necessarily want the land. French are going to trap and trade furs, specifically beaver pelts. They had no desire to settle the land, and that was just fine for the Native Americans. They got along with the French quite well. They traded beaver pelts with the French. Now, another group, the English, that's going to be a little bit different. The English want to settle the land, and one of their first settlements is Jamestown. Jamestown is in Virginia. Jamestown is the English charter colony on the Virginia coast. They found it did not have any gold, but it was rich in growing tobacco. Tobacco. So Jamestown almost starved that first year. That second year, they began to grow crops, specifically tobacco, and even though they never found gold, man, they got rich by growing tobacco, which was craved back home in Europe. Now, up the coast comes another group of people. They're the Pilgrims. They wanted to land down in Virginia near Jamestown, but the seas were too rough. This group is the Pilgrims. The seas were too rough, so they settled in Plymouth, Massachusetts. The Pilgrims. Settlement at Plymouth, 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 Massachusetts. And they had a plantation there, and their goal is to seek religious freedom. They didn't see eye to eye with the Church of England, so they wanted to escape. Another group that settled in Massachusetts were the Puritans. Now, the Puritans didn't necessarily want to break away from the Church of England. All they wanted to do is purify it, but they ran afoul of the Church of England, hence the name Puritan. The Massachusetts Bay Colony is associated with the Puritans. Their families build a model community for other settlers. Another group is the Dutch from the Netherlands. And a principal character there is Henry Hudson. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's an Englishman. It is. Henry Hudson was a hired gun. He sails for the Dutch. And his claims are along the Hudson River. He sails into New York Harbor, goes up the Hudson River as far as Fort Orange, present-day Albany, and he claims all that land on either side of the Hudson River for the Dutch. And down on the island of Manhattan, we have the Dutch establishing their empire there. It was called New Netherland. New Netherland is a Dutch land holding that included Fort Orange, Albany, and Manhattan Island, Manhattan. And on the southern tip of Manhattan, closest to the Atlantic, they built a fort there. A wall, which is present-day Wall Street. Now, the Dutch open their colony to Germans, French, and Scandinavians. Scandinavians would be Swedes. You can just put that down, Swedes. They wanted to colonize that land, and if they couldn't get enough Dutch people, they opened it up to Germans, French, and Swedes, or Scandinavians in general. The Caribbean Islands. Caribbean Islands became cotton and sugar plantations. Cotton and sugar plantations. England is going to claim land. The English are going to oust or throw out the Dutch to unite northern and southern colonies. It seems like New England and the southern colonies were blocked by the Dutch. So the English sail into New York Harbor and they force the Dutch to surrender without firing a shot. Their Dutch governor, Peter Stuyvesant, remember the guy with the wooden leg? He wanted to fight, but he was such a jerk, his citizens gave up to the English willingly. Now later on down the way, we see the French and Indian War. This is between the British and Iroquois, Iroquois, versus the French and the Algonquin, Algonquin. On this side, we have the British and their best buddies, the Iroquois nation. And in this corner, we have the French and their best buddies, the Algonquin. The Iroquois hated the Algonquin. Well, the British hate the French. So they team up, and the French and Indian War is fought. France lost North American land holdings in 1763. They lost New France, Quebec, all the way down into Ohio, down into the Mississippi, and all the way down to Louisiana. They lost all that land in the French and Indian War. Look at where the Dutch were, up the Hudson River. So as the British come down and they want to connect with the southern colonies, it looks like the Dutch are in their way. Well, they just take them over without firing a shot. Look where the Swedes are, in Delaware Bay. Delaware has a Swedish history. And so we see England taking this land here. Native American reaction. Well, it's a strained relationship. The French and the Dutch coexisted with native tribes. Why? Why'd they get along so well? Because of the fur trade. The English are going to clash with natives over land and religion. The English wanted all the land, and so they're going to fight the Native Americans for it. Plus, they didn't tolerate Native American religions. They wanted Christianity to be the religion. The French and the Dutch didn't really care. They just wanted the fur. Settlers and Native Americans are going to battle. In Virginia, the Powhatan tribe is going to clash with the Jamestown colony. It's funny, they did help the Jamestown colony survive, but later on it just got too tense, and it was over land, and the Powhatan tribe is going to clash with the English settlers at Jamestown. Up the coast in Massachusetts, we have a Native American ruler named Metacom. He's a Native American ruler, clashes with the Massachusetts settlers. You can put in parenthesis, this was known as Metacom's War or King Philip's War, Philip. King Philip was Metacom. And in the end, the English are going to defeat the Native Americans. Why was this? It's because white folks' disease devastates the native population in North America. They did not have an immune system to be able to battle against measles, chickenpox, smallpox, the flu, and these people die of health complications. When there's no Native Americans to do the slave labor, they import Africans. So Africans were imported as slaves after the Native American populations died off in great numbers. Well, this is Mr. K's, and we're ending 20.2. See you down the road.